Welcome again to the Sharpe Way. Another awesome Monday evening, 8 to 10. Doesn't matter if it's holiday season, I'm still here with you. Of course, I am the most important 2 hours of your week. And here's the best part. Today, we are talking about issues that the government says, things you must put in your body and things you may not put in your body. We're talking about vaping and vaccinations. Yes, people are going to be unhappy and happy today. And today I have an amazing guest. The man, the myth, legend himself, come all the way from Long Island, Matt Elliott from the United Vapors Alliance?
The United Vapors Alliance.
Yeah, I got it right. United Vapors Alliance. Absolutely. So glad to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
If you want to join us this evening, call in, talk to me or Matt, please feel free. The number is 573-427-5463. Now, Matt, I think the first time we actually chatted was during my campaign, and it was, I'm thinking, one of your guys reached out to me, I think, if I'm not mistaken, and we went on the Vaping Legion. Is that right?
Yes, that would be the Vaping Legion Network on YouTube. We had you as a guest because you were running against His Majesty Andrew Cuomo.
Yes.
And we were looking for politicians who support vaping and support people's choice to use vaping.
Yes.
And
that actually became hard for me. It became hard for me. And you know why it was hard for me? I don't know if you know this. You probably do know this, of course. But some of you out there may not know this. When I did a lot of my events in vaping shops, right, to show support for the vaping industry, I would do I had many different small businesses, but one of them I'd often go to vaping shops, do an event there, have people come to the shop, all that kind of good stuff. And when I would do that, I couldn't promote it on Facebook.
Because it was vaping.
Because it was vaping. Yes, so I literally couldn't promote the event on Facebook because Facebook decided that vaping is evil. Now, something else, fine. But I can't do that, right? So if I did some fast food joint that was clogging someone's arteries, that's totally fine.
Oh, yeah, you could promote that. You
100%.
Could post it everywhere. Anything vaping related, even vaping advocacy is now being shut down by Facebook.
Yes, I was. And this was 2 years ago. I mean, it was, and the funny part is, as Facebook and others did that, it made me want to support the industry actually more. It made me realize that this has to be supported. And some of the events were tough because not enough people could show up. But what I also found, people are going to think this is crazy. My daughter was 14 then. A lot of vaping shops didn't want her in a shop.
Which is crazy, actually, if you think about it, because one of the main arguments is the vaping industry is evil. They're marketing to kids. They're big tobacco 2.0.
Yes.
But they won't allow your daughter into the shop for the event.
I remember that specifically. A lot of vape shops were like, Larry, can't she stay outside? Can't she stay outside? That happened often. And not just that, we also found that I would go and other people would bring their kids. And the vaping shop was like, can they stay outside? We'd like them not to be in the shop. We'd like them not to be in the shop. And again, this wasn't an event that was being promoted where there weren't cameras there. I mean, I guess they were like, cell phone cameras, but there weren't no reporters were there. No newspaper was there. So it wasn't like they had to be afraid someone was going to, report them. There was nothing that'd be reported, right?
And it wasn't mandatory either.
Exactly.
That's the thing. The shops were taking it upon themselves to make sure that there are no underage people, regardless of who it is, regardless for what event it is, in the vape shop.
Well, that's my question to you now. So let me ask you, because I'm sure you have a list of this. Can you please list all of the vape shops where all those horrible products were sold that killed those kids? Can you please list them for me?
Oh, if I actually had any, because they weren't sold in vape shops.
Because there's no list is the reason why you have no list. Yes, I know. And that's the point that drives me crazy. The entire concept, and for those of you who don't know, in New York State, there was an attempt to ban all flavors. Is that correct? Am I getting it right?
Yes, all flavored products, I believe, besides menthol at first, and now they're trying to add menthol into it. But keep menthol cigarettes.
Yeah, well, because they're fine, obviously. And then that was it the New York State Superior Court said no? Why was that blocked?
That was blocked because
Is it a
there
circuit
was
court?
I believe it was circuit. Don't quote me 100% on that. I'm more of on the street wise
I
as
got
far
you,
as
sure. Yes.
that advocacy is concerned.
One of the courts blocked
Yes.
that. And so then His Majesty King Cuomo II decided, I'm not going to do an executive order. I'm now going to put an actual plan together and to put an actual bill through our assembly to make sure we can ban all the flavors, because clearly that's why kids are dying.
Right. Even though, and I quote, Cuomo said, vaping is better than smoking.
Mm-hmm.
Technically, yes, but so what?
There we go. Yes.
I mean, you don't get more hypocritical and more transparent than that.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I know it's better than smoking, but so what?
Yeah, but I can't make any money compared to what I make off the cigarettes.
See, he could make money. That's the crazy
I
thing.
agree completely.
20% tax on all e-liquid and all starter kits involving e-liquid completed kits. 20% tax on that. But you can't get blood from a stone.
Right.
If there's only tobacco flavors left,
Right.
no shop is going to survive, which means no one is going to be buying in New York State.
Right.
Which means they're going to be going elsewhere.
Exactly right.
And guess what? Now you're the asshole that
Yes.
you lost all the revenue from New York State.
You lost the revenue, you lost the jobs, you lost the rent, you lost all of those things in New York State. What are there, over 700 shops in New York State? Am I about
Over
right?
700 vape shops in New York State.
Over 700 vape shops, and the vast majority are going to be gone. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So that means you're looking at least 2,000 jobs.
Oh, well more.
3,000 jobs?
Well more.
5,000 jobs.
Probably anywhere, I believe, between like 5 to 7,000.
5 to 7,000 jobs.
Because you have to remember,
gone.
you also have not only shops, this is also going to affect manufacturers.
Yes.
This is going to affect distribution companies. This is going to affect everyone.
And the one thing I loved more than anything about this industry is what you just said. Most of those businesses, they're basically businesses that are in someone's basement. They're homegrown. That's what it began. They began homegrown. Yes. And then they're not like it's some huge company out of Ireland or out of India or out of insert country over here that now comes over and now takes over. A lot of this, if I remember right, over half was homegrown. That's what they began in someone's house.
So the entire industry in America started by consumers.
There we go.
Because there were the Ciga-like products out there that people didn't like, so they created different forms of it. All of this is innovation from people who saw products, wanted to make them better, had crappy flavors, wanted to make the flavors better. I mean, this whole industry was created by consumers. This is not a big tobacco industry. In fact, big tobacco felt threatened and had to join the industry. I mean, Views, Blue, even Juul to an extent, you know, there is big tobacco companies behind there.
Sure.
Now, I'm not knocking any of those products because I believe that these products need to be available for everyone who is of age to use these products, which is now 21 in New York State, which I don't agree with by itself.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Big tobacco.
Send them off to die in a war, no worries, but don't you dare let them smoke.
Well, not even just that. I would use that argument if there was a draft, but it's more so you can be tried as an adult.
That's true, too.
You can sign a contract. You can vote.
Yes.
You can vote. You have the ability to vote for these people, but you don't have the maturity to make decisions.
Yeah, correct. Yes. You can't decide if you want to vape or smoke or whatever the case may be, but you can vote. I love that. Let's grab the phones if I could. I'm going to head over to New York. I'm going to grab Mr. Schmidt. I think I know which Schmidt this is. I hope it is a buddy of mine. If it is, if not, I still love you. If you're not the same Bill Schmidt, I still love you. I'm going to see if I can get Bill on the line. Bill Schmidt, how are you, sir?
I'm doing fine, Larry. I'm down in sunny Fort Lauderdale till March.
Oh, you have escaped us, my friend.
Lucky.
Yes, you have escaped us. I'm so glad you're calling in. Talk to me. What do you want to talk about when it comes to vaping?
I even turned off the air conditioning so we can hear each other.
Oh, very nice. See, you do love me. What's going on, my friend?
Yep. Well, you know, I've been a vapor for 4 years, and I'm an ex-cigarette smoker. I quit smoking in 1997. And I can tell you from personal experience the difference between vaping and smoking. I used to wake up when I smoked and I'd be coughing up phlegm and I had all kinds of other problems. I don't have any of that from vaping. I'm not going to tell people that it's completely safe, but I know from personal experience, it's a hell of a lot safer than cigarette smoking. And this whole operation of the progressive nanny staters to outlaw it is really outrageous.
I completely agree. And the funny part is, you said that you quit smoking many years ago, but you picked up vaping relatively recently. My wife had a similar issue. My wife was a smoker when I met her, when we got married, and she quit. And she vaped for a little bit, and it wasn't because she actually missed the nicotine, because the vaping she used, I don't know the details of it, but there was no nicotine in it. It was just for flavors. She was doing it because she didn't want to fall back into the bad habit. It was physically having something in her hands. It was the habit that she was trying to deal with, and she didn't want to go back to smoking, particularly when there were stressful times in her life. We had a child. She didn't want to go back to smoking when she felt the stress. She used vaping for a short time, maybe 6 months. I don't remember exactly. And then she never went back, but she used it for that purpose. Bill, did you have a similar issue or no?
Actually, I started it to lose weight, Larry, and I lost 10 pounds on it.
Look at
because
that.
nicotine is an appetite suppressant.
Oh, there we go. So you can stop smoking and lose weight? Oh, my God. Look at that. Yes. But I think you've hit a perfect point, right? People use different tools to break the habits they want to break the way they want to do it. And that's the only way it can ever be effective.
Right.
And government's not going to make that happen well. I appreciate that.
It's really too bad. The first thing I did when I got down here was to go to the local vape store and buy a box of flavored bottles to last me till I come back next year, because I'm not going to be able to buy them in New York anymore.
Oh, right. What you were saying, Matt. Oh, my God. It's exactly what you were saying.
Elsewhere. They're going to go to different places to buy their products.
Oh, my God. See that? Bill, I get it, but I hate it. Like, I get you, but I can't stand it, because you're not the only guy doing that. I'm sure there are lots of people right now doing exactly the same thing. And New York right now, for those who don't know, has about a $400 billion debt and about a $6 billion deficit. So we could use every little bit of that vape taxation we could get. Oh, my God, it's horrible. So, all right, Bill, thank you so much. No, go ahead.
Right.
No,
we'll
keep
talk
talking.
To you soon.
No, you have something else to say. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to tell you, my local vape guy in Peekskill, the store that I usually buy it from, he's extremely upset. He's biting his fingernails trying to figure out how he's going to pay his rent and meet his payroll, because this is killing him.
Absolutely. Can you, do you remember the name of the shop?
Beg your pardon?
Do you remember the name of the shop?
I think it's Cortland Vape.
Cortland Vape. There we go. Just wanted to give him a quick plug if I could. That was all. Good. All right, Bill, I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Very good. You have a great time.
You too.
And it's really interesting that he is supporting his local shops, which is what every vapor needs to be doing. Granted, if you can't get certain things in shop, yes, you have to get them online. Mm-hmm. However, we're looking at situations now across America, especially in New York, where Nassau County just did a flavor ban for the county. They didn't wait for the state. They did one for the county, which goes into effect January 1st.
Wow.
All those businesses are going to be shut down.
Sure. Yeah.
And it was crazy because I was at that hearing. I testified along with many other people. The writer of the bill, I believe it was Drucker, took out the money for enforcement on the bill.
Wow.
Think about that for a second.
Wow.
We're doing a flavor ban, but we're pulling the money to enforce the flavor ban.
Yeah. Yeah. Because there'll be nothing to enforce.
Yes,
there's nothing left to enforce.
And enforcement is the key.
Yes.
In Suffolk County, where I live, I've spent about an hour on the phone with Department of Health one day talking about I would like to report a shop that I know is not only selling to underage, but they are selling illegal THC products. Mm-hmm. I was told, there's nothing we can do.
Yep.
I offered my experience and my advice, and I said, I want to help you get these shops that not only sell to underage, but sell products they should not sell.
Sure.
Oh, well, there's a lot of yellow tape, and, we can't just have you join it. So you don't want to fix the problem.
No.
That's what you're saying. You don't want to fix the problem.
Well, we're going to ban it anyway, so who cares?
Well, that's the thing. It's a blanket ban.
Yes.
And blanket situations, no matter what the actual object or whatever the situation is, never works.
Yeah. The thing I want to bring up, though, is what he said. He said about his local guy here and his local guy in Florida. He didn't even think to go online. He thought, go to a local shop. Because the next thing that I talk about always with this industry is I've noticed this, and I didn't know this until I physically went to all the shops. Every single shop I went to always had something like couches or a video game or a bar or a big TV or every shop I went to had
It's
something.
Cheers.
Yes.
Every shop should be like Cheers.
Because there's a community there. There's a support structure for people who are trying to get better. People who are trying to stop a bad habit, whether it's lose weight or stop smoking or whatever that thing is they're trying to achieve, or just a camaraderie to feel less stressed, to enjoy. We lack community so much in our towns and cities. And here is another small business that is creating community.
The vapor community is one of the most amazing communities I have ever seen. And I've seen this community come together for people, complete total strangers that they've helped. I've seen this community come together and support people no matter what is going on.
Absolutely.
Now, a little bit of studies. New England Journal of Medicine states that along with support, vaping products are 2 times more successful than traditional nicotine replacement therapies.
Sure.
In helping people quit
I
smoking.
mean, like the patch and gum, things
Patches, gums, lozenges, Chantix, Zambian, whatever, vaping is more successful along with support. Well, okay, so you go get a patch or you go get gum or lozenges or whatever. What's your support system?
None. You bought that at CVS or Walgreens or something. No one's going to come to your house and say, hey, man, how you doing?
So
no one's going to call you up. You don't have a place to go to hang out with other people with a patch on.
You get a vapor product. You go down to the local shop. And I used to run shops. I'm no longer working in the industry as far as vested interest, but I'm still a consumer advocate. So I used to work in shops. And the moment a person came in, it was like working in a bar.
Yeah.
They walk in. First, let me check your ID, make sure everything's good. Awesome. What can I do you for?
I've literally seen that happen. I've watched that happen multiple times. To be clear for everybody, I'm not a vapor, never smoked, never vaped. They're 2 separate things. I've never done either of those things. I'm the squarest guy you're going to find, except for maybe a Mormon, because I do use caffeine. But besides that, I don't drink. I don't do any of that stuff. But it doesn't matter. My point is, I've been there and I've watched exactly what you said. I've watched it happen more than once. I've just watched it, boom, explode. So let me grab a couple more calls if I can. I want to grab, let me get Peter, if I can. Peter, he's in Texas. He wants to talk about the Walk for Change. Unsure what he wants to talk about. Let's see if I can grab him. Peter, how are you?
I'm doing well, and how are you?
Oh, my God, it's Peter the man. You're the man from Walk for Change. I love it. What are you doing in Texas?
Yes, sir. Well, right now I'm in Austin, Texas. We've been traveling the country for the Walk for Change, and the Walk for Change obviously aligns right up with this. Because
yes, it does.
We believe we own everything about us. It's our body, our choice, and we should be able to decide what we put in it and what we don't. And we've been traveling around, obviously, as emissaries for the party.
Yep.
And making tremendous connections. We've been all over the state. We've talked to Ted Metz in Georgia. We've talked to, country, yeah. We talked to Ted Metz in Georgia.
Hi, Larry.
Hey, how are you? So glad you called in.
It's my wife, Helen. How have you been? How was your holidays, and how was the family?
It's amazing, but more importantly, tell people how they can get a hold and get more information regarding the Walk for Change. Tell them.
Okay, the Walk for Change is very simple to get a hold of, to volunteer, to sponsor, whatever you want to do during it. It's change.us. So that's change.us, and you can get involved. Listen, this is the largest, most historic civil rights march from Southern California to Washington, D.C., starting on the summer solstice in Southern California, and we are going to walk across America. We are going to have satellite walks in every state going on parallel to us as we do, because we need change in this government.
Wow.
Yes, I am with you, brother. Pete, thank you so much for calling. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, Larry. You all have a great holiday and a great New Year.
Happy New Year.
All righty. Happy New Year, guys. Look at that. Walk for change. They're not playing games.
Wow.
They are not playing games.
That's what you need. You need to have some type of movement, some type of huge statement.
When they were first doing the ban, I remember a lot of the local guys around my neighborhood, and you know Spiro, who's in my neighborhood.
I love Spiro.
Right? He was asking me, what are we going to do? And I said, we just can't shut up. Right? We just got to keep talking. And remember, you and I did a little thing there.
Yeah, absolutely.
At Spiro's, yes.
Yep.
And I was like, I did another video, and I was like, I'll talk some more. And I talked to my people on Fox Business News. They didn't have me on, but I talked to them anyway. They heard about it, right? They talked about it, right?
Well, hopefully I have an interview with News 12 in the first week of January about vaping.
Awesome.
So hopefully we'll get some more information out there. And
Yes.
Gregory Conley, the president of the American Vaping Association, has been absolutely phenomenal
Very
everywhere
nice.
he goes. So we are trying to get, the message out there. And Twitter. Let's
Yes.
talk about Twitter for a second.
Absolutely.
Twitter is absolutely huge for the vaping industry to make any noise. I mean, the American Heart Association turned around and did a hashtag quit lying.
Ooh, I like that.
implying that the vaping industry is nothing more than big tobacco 2.0, and we need to stop lying and telling people that vaping helps them quit smoking. So what we did was we took that hashtag. Now we own it. That's ours.
Okay.
So thank you, American Heart Association, for that.
There we go.
We own that hashtag where now everything positive vape, we use that hashtag. Now every time we're exposing corruption, we use that hashtag.
Nice.
So if you search hashtag quit lying, more pro-vaping stuff is coming up than anti-vaping.
Nice.
And that was also done by Edelman. They are a campaign company. They used to work with Big Tobacco. So I also find it very interesting that big pharma organizations are using Big Tobacco campaigning.
But you told me something before the show came on. You told me something about the American Heart Association, and that was surprising to me. You mentioned that they're not doctors and that they're not concerned with a cure.
No. So, okay, we know the whole saying, there's no money in a cure.
Okay.
I mean, let's be real for a second. If we thought that there was money in cures, I think a lot more things would have cures nowadays.
Okay.
The deal is keep you sick, keep you alive long enough for you to keep paying.
So treat the symptoms.
But you never get better. Because once you get better, you're no longer money for us.
So are you saying, and this is kind of radical here, what you're kind of saying is the American Heart Association is not concerned with actually curing cancer or heart disease?
Well, I'm not saying that they're not 100% interested in curing that, but I do know that every time you donate to them, they're only getting a little percentage actually going to the cause. It's one of those companies like American Cancer Society, Live Strong, all these companies, very little bit of that money actually goes to the cause. It all goes to the CEOs and, rent, stuff like that. I get it. But when people want to donate, they want it to go directly to the cause. But we've had American Heart Association, American Lung Association, American Cancer Society, American Pediatric Association, American Medical Association turn around and all tell blatant lies about vaping. I mean, statistics that have been proven, they're saying don't exist.
Wow.
They're making up their own statistics.
Okay.
So for instance, the 2019 National Youth Tobacco Survey just came out. One of the biggest arguments that at least for New York State's flavor ban, as well as the entire countries and other states, is flavors hook kids.
Right.
I'm sure you've seen
I hear
that
all
all over the place.
Sure, absolutely.
About 27, maybe a little bit less, % of kids started vaping because of flavors. So your whole argument right there is destroyed.
Right.
Not to mention, we're also looking at youth as now 21-year-olds and under.
Oh, right, yes.
So you're telling me all these kids, and I have to use this term kids or youth because they're not considered legal adults anymore.
No.
I mean, now it's 21.
That's correct.
But all these youth
Sure.
who were 18, 19, 20-year-olds who are using this product to get off of smoking combustible tobacco, which we all know will kill you over time.
Right.
They're now being told, well, you're not mature enough to use this product.
Right.
And you're now a statistic. That's the thing. You are now a statistic.
Yes, absolutely.
They've created their own statistics.
Brilliant move. Brilliant move. Let me grab some more calls.
Yeah.
I'm going to California. I went to New York and Texas. I'm now going to head over to California. I want to talk to Stan in California. He wants to talk about vaping. That is the topic, so that's awesome. Stan, are you there?
Yeah.
Stan, how are you, sir? You're on the air now with Larry and Matt. What's going on?
So, I'm kind of curious. Do you think this T21 is going to curb a national flavor ban?
Oh, now we're getting juicy.
Oh, he got juicy.
Oh,
Go
yeah.
ahead.
All right, so I want to state something on this, and this is my personal opinion. This in no way, shape, or form reflects opinions on United Vapors Alliance or the Vaping Legion or any other groups that I am a part of. This is my personal opinion, Matthew Elliott's. The vaping industry was so ready to give up T21 as long as it protected flavors. Well, first off, we do not have a bargaining chip in this. It's not like we're saying, we're going to give you T21. No, we have nothing to...
Explain T21.
So T21 is Tobacco 21, which would mean that you have to be 21 years of age to buy tobacco products, which also include vapor products because we are deemed tobacco under the FDA.
Which is why, if you remember, I was against that the entire way.
Correct.
Because of that exact reason. But go ahead, please go ahead.
So I do not believe that T21 is going to 100% curb a national flavor ban. The only thing that will curb a national flavor ban is for every vapor, estimated 13 million by Wells Fargo report. I believe it's actually higher. It's around 22 million, but we're going to use 13.
Okay.
13 million vapors need to get on Twitter, and they need to tweet at President Trump and say, a flavor ban will not work. We will not comply with a flavor ban. We will have civil disobedience, and we will continue to get our products made elsewhere. I mean, it's very easy to make e-liquid. The only thing that they're going to do is they're going to restrict the nicotine. For good reason.
Right.
I believe nicotine needs to be made in nicotine needs to be used in labs. I've worked with manufacturing e-liquid before, and you can have some horrible instances happen with nicotine. But a flavor ban federally, first off, they have 12 FDA enforcers to enforce the entire industry.
Gotcha.
Unless they get more, it's just not happening.
Right.
But the only thing it will do will shut down good shops.
Right.
All it will do will limit people's access to use flavors.
That has been my biggest issue, guys, that has driven me crazy, right? You look at the kids who had problems and issues, they got it from the black market. Now, so what are we doing? We're punishing the good stores, and we're now helping the black market grow. We are literally punishing the people who did the right thing and helping the people who did the wrong thing.
And I like the way you said it, I believe, last time I was on and I was talking to you. We're rewarding child murderers.
That's correct.
That's what's happening. We are rewarding child murderers.
Yes.
But Stan, to go back to T21 or the national flavor ban, I would say if we are going to take any hit, it should be T21. I don't agree with T21 personally, and I will fight that until the day I die. But I'm also a realist. If that's what's going to happen, and if that means the endearing of the rest of the industry, then so be it.
Here we go. Stan, did I answer your question?
I'm in the land of California where we've been T21 for years, right? The
Oh,
shop
yeah.
that I manage, it's gotten so bad here in California that we had to put up a tattoo parlor inside the shop that is compliant and everything just to keep the shop closed.
See, the problem with that is now, so there's a lot of argument also about what constitutes a vape shop. And especially with the federal flavor ban, there's conversations of what places should be able to sell flavored vapor products, hoping
like
that
a gas station
shops
or a
will-
convenience store
correct.
or something like that.
With the hopes that vape shops are going to get, told you can sell flavored products, but the gas stations, the C-stores, anything that is not considered a vape shop will not be able to.
Like a smoke shop.
Right. But now here's the problem. In places where there are flavor bans happening, they're having to resort to other things to keep their doors open. I
Right.
mean, kratom, CBD, whether
Yes.
it's flower, whether it's vapable, whether it's tincture, gummies, whatever, rolling papers,
Yep.
bongs. I mean, I see vape shops turning into head shops, or, you know,
Yep.
Stan, in your case, the vape shop turning into a half a tattoo shop.
Yes.
It's like,
Yes.
it's
No,
asinine.
don't get me wrong. I love it.
Oh, it sounds
I love it,
badass,
but-
dude. I'm
but
not
it's
going to
what we
lie.
have to do as a business.
That's good. Yes,
mean, like,
but Stan,
I
you
myself-
shouldn't be forced into doing that, right? You should have chosen that
Right.
business model because you wanted it and you liked it, not because you were forced into it.
Exactly. And the way that I've done the shop now is that I've lowered myself to minimum wage
Yeah.
so I can hire a doorman to check ID before entry. I treat it like a bar.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That's one of the things I've been saying. What vape shops need to do, excuse me, what vape shops need to do is have a doorman.
Yeah.
The moment you walk into a shop, it doesn't matter what shop it is. You have to walk in, hand your ID.
Yep.
The doorman says, "Oh, you're good to go."
Yep.
And then you have to have your ID again at the time of purchase.
Yeah, but the problem is what he just said. Now the guy who owns the store makes less than the guy behind the counter. Right? Now the guy who owns the store makes less than the doorman. Right?
I mean, that's the problem.
That is
But
the problem.
This should have been something that has been implemented from the beginning.
Yes.
We're a day late, a dollar short in the industry. We
That's the
always
issue.
seem to be reactive instead of proactive.
Yeah, but you shouldn't be under attack in the first place to have to be so reactive is the problem, right? The industry should have been allowed to, on its own, mature to that level without government pounding it off the bat, right? Like any other industry. Did the horseshoe industry become amazing? No, it took thousands of years, right? Did the car industry become amazing? It took decades, right? All these industries, it took decades and time to make this happen. So anyway, Stan, thank you so much for calling. I appreciate it.
Yeah, anytime. Thank you guys for answering.
All right, have a good one. All right, I'm going to go to Massachusetts. I'm not really sure what.
Massachusetts.
I know, it's-
Massachusetts had something horrible happen to it.
So let's see if we can get Raphael to talk to us about that. I'm going to go to Massachusetts. Raphael, how are you?
Hi, Larry. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing great. You are live with Matt and Larry. Talk to me.
Okay. So first, I want to apologize. I don't have anything interesting to say about the vaping discussion, but I'm enjoying it so far.
Okay, good. All right. So what do you want to talk about?
I wanted to talk about my idea for the income share agreement. So it would be all public universities, any of them that receive federal funding or public money, they would go into the income share agreement. So the students would go and obviously get their degree finished, and they would sign off on a percentage of their future earnings to pay back the university. So that way.
So hold on. So you're saying a way of funding college?
Yes.
Okay. Is this something that the government sets up? Does the college set it up? How's this set up? A little bit off topic. Sorry, Matt. You go ahead. Yeah. But how is this set up?
Yeah. So first, sorry, this is totally random.
No worries. But
yeah.
Who sets this up? Is this funded by a bank? Like, who is the person who initiates this? Oh, the group.
So what I'm talking about is only for public universities. But private universities and colleges could do their own thing. But this would, no taxpayer would pay for someone else's education. It would be public because you would force the public universities and the students to come up with an agreement. So it would be on the universities and the students.
But where's the money coming from?
No, in this case, he's saying they're basically borrowing the money basically from the institution itself. The institution is getting paid back as the person makes money. Now, while I get the concept, there's two problems that happen here. One, not everyone goes to college to get a job, right? So if I go to college because I just want to learn something, I have an interest, any of those things, then that wouldn't necessarily make sense for me in that regard. Second, if I'm going back to, say, B school or a secondary education, what if I can't get a job in that next field or the case may be? Am I paying you for my previous job? And if I don't get that raise, it could be an issue there also. Thirdly, what happens if I don't pay? Does that mean that now the institution itself is basically a bank and has to become a collection agency? Does that mean they can charge outrageous
Well, simply they kill you and then harvest your organs and pay it back that way.
If it's a good university, maybe able to do that. That may not be a bad idea. I get what you're saying, but I can see a lot of issues because the second you do that, if the university's savvy, it's immediately going to find a third-party administrator for this. And that third-party administrator is going to become a bank or a lender or some type of administrator who's going to charge another fee on top of that. Or I'm not sure this solves the problem, I guess is my concern. Have you thought about this?
Yes, yeah. I get what you're saying, but that would kind of prove a point either way.
Tell me.
Either way, it would say degrees are basically worthless if you can't go out and get a job and earn money.
I like that. That's good.
I mean, it's kind of true right now. Your degrees are useless because
yes,
you can't do anything with them.
Yeah, you got me on that one, Raphael. You definitely got me. That's true. Yes, that's a good point. But while I agree with you, my worry is if we put this into play for 5 years, I'm making that up. Now I've got 5 years of people who have to pay the price to make that point. I'd like just to make that point without them having to pay the price for it. But I think if you create that option, I do think some universities would take it, and I think some private universities would also take it. But at the moment, you would have to also get rid of basically government loans, right? Of government loans because
well, Massachusetts, the government doesn't really care much about anything. And then after, I do have something to say about Massachusetts too.
Okay, so. But yeah, no, Raphael, it's not a bad idea. I think it might work better at a state level first, and it might actually work better at the private level first, so that people could see it working and then work the kinks out of it and decide if a third-party administrator is actually valuable or not. Doing something like that nationally, to me, seems scary. People, I think, would run away from it. I think the government would never...
No.
Go ahead.
It doesn't have to be nationally. I'm just trying to make the point that if you could cut off, I don't think any taxpayer should be paying for someone else's school.
Mm-hmm.
So this would kind of put it in the individual's hands. And if it fails on the government because they're the one that signed the agreement and the student himself.
Oh, okay. I missed that part. So the government. Okay, I got you.
So there has to be governmental involvement.
Yeah, I got
you.
So
either way, I mean, if it works, fine, hoop-de-doop, But if it doesn't, it just proves the point that we have 1.5 trillion of loans out there already. Right now.
Yes, the Department of Education was the largest bank in the world right now, in the country. Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah, a large portion of it will never be paid back.
That's correct.
So at least this sheds some light on it, and you're not outright just spending money on it.
All right, Raphael, thank you for the call. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, have a good one. Sorry about going off topic on that one.
It's all right. So
you had Massachusetts. Talk.
In Massachusetts.
Mm-hmm.
So Massachusetts got hit very badly. They originally had an executive order for a total vaping ban.
I remember this.
Everything.
I remember this.
Coils, e-liquid, mods. It doesn't matter. It was banned. Shops were shutting their doors, covering their products overnight, and they were sending police enforcement in to make sure this was happening.
Wow.
I have an echo. Is that normal?
Yeah, it's gone.
Okay.
Yep, it's gone. I have magic powers. It's gone.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
So when Massachusetts was bringing it to legislation, they're doing a flavor ban legislatively now. The Republican Party, the Republican caucus, during the Senate hearing,
which is about small government,
don't forget
that. Keep going.
Turned around and asked, simply because the reasons that these shops are being shut down. First, they tried getting exclusion for the flavor ban for vape shops. Then they asked for the money to be used from the Master Tobacco Settlement Agreement, which was the agreement made in 1998 by the big tobacco companies and the state attorney generals.
Yep.
For funding for basically restitutions and anti-smoking campaigns and all that stuff. They asked for 10% to be used to help with smoking cessation. The Democrats turned around and said, no, let the insurance companies, they can get these products from the insurance companies. The original reason why the Mass Tobacco Settlement Agreement was written was for this exact purpose.
Right, exactly.
So Massachusetts went on record, which we have this all available to be viewed on the Vaping Legion Network on YouTube, basically stating, no, we're not going to use the money that is from the MSA agreement for what it's intended for.
Right.
I mean, that blew my mind
Yes.
when I watched that.
But everything it's always special that goes to a government always winds up going to a general fund.
General funding.
Always.
General funding. And then what
Absolutely.
they use that for
Yes.
is their own little side
Yes.
projects.
All right, let me get back on the phone if I can. I'm heading back to New York. I'm going to see if I can grab Tyler from New York. I'll grab him. Tyler, how are you? Oh, I don't have Tyler yet. Hold on. Tyler's been waiting for a bit. He might have hung up on me. I hope he didn't. Tyler, are you there?
I'm here, Larry.
Hey,
How are you doing?
I got you. Awesome. I'm doing well. You are now live. Talk to me.
How you guys doing? How's Reaper doing with you tonight?
What's going on, Tyler?
Oh, same old stuff, just a different day. You know how we're always crapping bricks, sweating bullets, thinking the next regulations are going to come down.
Yeah, we are in limbo.
Oy.
It seems we are always in
Hold on.
limbo.
Crapping bricks and sweating bullets. I like that. Right.
Well, I'm being PG for your radio show, man.
No. You can be R. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
I have to be respectively
Yes.
on here, not the callers. That's
exactly. Doesn't matter.
I just watched Christmas Vacation last night, so it's like, don't use that word. Okay, shooting rock.
Okay. So
Anyway,
what do you want to talk about?
Well, I wanted to talk about vaping.
Tell me.
Because it's like I said, we are the entire industry, the entire consumer advocacy group, and I have to thank Reaper for helping me get into consumer advocacy because I was not as involved as I am now.
Is a nickname for you Reaper?
Yeah.
Okay.
The Reaper, Grim. I mean,
Gotcha.
well, there's already a Grim in the vaping industry, Grim Green. So I'm known as the Reaper when it comes to
Okay,
the
good.
vaping industry.
Okay, good. All right, now we know.
Now we know. We're sitting here daily. I'm constantly on Twitter and tweeting using our hashtags, hashtag MSA Blood Money, hashtag
Absolutely.
lying,
Yep.
hashtag We Vape, We Vote.
Yep.
And it's getting really, really ridiculous. We're all on edge. We're trying to figure out what's going to happen. We can't even enjoy our holidays because
Yes.
of proposed regulation that may or may not be coming down.
Yes.
And then
Federal
you got
T21.
You got Cuomo talking out his ass now about how he's going to ban flavors, and that's going to help the youth vaping epidemic.
Absolutely. Yes. You know, the thing I guess I wonder, does and you might know more, Matt, but does the We Vape, We Vote piece matter? And the reason why I ask this question is a selfishness and a non-selfishness here, right? The non-selfish is the Democrats, Republicans in 2020, when it comes to the president, it's going to be just a couple of 100,000 votes in a couple of states that is going to decide. And are vapors that strong to where they'll say, whatever, if Trump does the ban, they're going to vote for whoever else is there. They're going to vote for Biden or Bernie or whoever is that person there.
Absolutely. The We Vape, We Vote movement is so powerful, especially in the swing states. We have had the National United Vapors Alliance formed the rally in Washington, D.C. on the Ellipse. 4,500 people were there, all chanting, "We Vape, We Vote," as President Trump flew over the crowd in Marine One, everyone holding up those signs. The next day, he made a tweet stating that he was going to sit down with the vaping industry and talk about what's going on.
It's thoroughly impressive. And here's the selfish piece. I want you all to vote Libertarian.
Well, I actually
That's
wasn't
the selfish piece.
Larry, I'll be honest.
Libertarian.
I didn't know what libertarian was before I started talking to you, and then I realized, wow, my views are very much libertarian, and it seems that libertarians just want to be left alone.
Yes.
Let us have our liberty. Let us have our our enjoyment. We're not hurting anyone. Leave us the hell alone. And libertarians seem to have that way of thinking, which the vaping industry, I mean, okay, so there's a lot of issues right now where people saying the vaping industry isn't going to change the votes, you know, of everything that's going on, the impeachment, this, that, the third, blah, 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 fake news, Democrat versus Republican, blah, 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 blah. What it's going to come down to is there are more vapors in the swing states that if they decide not to go down to the polls, Trump could very well lose those states. That terrifies a lot of people.
It should.
And what's crazy is other politicians are not picking up on this.
Right.
I mean, I'm pretty much a single issue voter because most of politics, I believe, is completely pointless. It's all predetermined and it's all a dog and pony show.
Right.
Vaping is something that is very important to me because it's about freedoms. It saved my life. It saved hundreds of thousands, millions of other people.
I have heard that story so many times. What you just said
So
saved
Larry,
my life.
if I can I tell my story real quick?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Please.
So I am T-minus 7 days away from my vapiversary.
I don't know what a vapiversary is.
It's the day that you quit smoking and start vaping.
Ah, there we go.
There you go.
Vapiversary. I like that. Okay.
I quit smoking kind of accidentally because I thought I had tried the lozenges, I had tried the gum, I had tried the patch. I refused Chantix because I saw what it did to my mother. It made her crazier than hell.
Yes, I've seen Chantix. I have seen that.
The FDA removed the black box warning from Chantix.
No, I've seen it happen. Yeah. And Wellbutrin is another one, right? Is that another one? I forgot what it's called, but it's another one that does it too. Makes you kind of loopy, crazy. Yes. Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I refused that. I tried cold turkey, and I couldn't really agree. You know, it was like I legitimately looked like a crack addict trying to get off of it because of the scratches and stuff.
Sure. So vaping saved your life.
It did. And it was a dragon fruit, cranberry, and apple flavored vape.
So you're a child.
No frill.
Absolutely.
So you're a child,
absolutely.
right?
You have to be a child.
You have to be a child.
Flavors.
And if you enjoyed flavors, you've got to be what, 13, 14?
Larry, according to my driver's license, I'm 30 years old.
Oh,
so,
wow. Well, that doesn't fit the narrative at all. Wait a minute. What's going on here?
You mean their own narrative implodes on themselves?
Oh my God.
Shocker.
That's good. Well, I'm very happy that you were able to quit smoking. That's great news.
And it's I was like, I was kind of like Matt over there. I wasn't quite smoking quite as much as he was when he smoked. I was only up to like a pack and a half a day.
Oh, that's
but
it?
I was still
it's high
waking
school.
up,
high school,
coughing up all the crap out of my lungs.
Middle school for me.
I couldn't walk up a Well, I mean, I had my first cigarette.
I'm totally
like 9
teasing
or 10
you.
Years old,
okay,
so.
You're hardcore again. Okay, you get your street cred back. It's fine. Yes. Anyway, I've got a bunch of calls I got to grab. I want to say thank you so much for your story and thank you for calling in.
You're welcome, guys. Have a good night. Enjoy your new year.
All righty. Have a good one. All right. I've been bouncing all around. I want to head to Tennessee if I could. I'm going to run over to Tennessee. I'm going to try to grab Charles from Tennessee so I can be over the entire country if it's possible.
I love the fact that this is filling up with vaping.
Yeah,
right now.
yes.
That's
Charles,
amazing.
how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. Talk to me, my friend. You're on the air.
Yes, I was calling about the new T21 law.
Yes, absolutely. That people called about that already. Absolutely. What's going on? What's your take?
So my take on it is I understand that the law is to prevent 18-year-olds that are still in high school from getting vapor products and smoking products and giving it to their friends. And I would say that a solution to the vaping epidemic, as far as that's what they're calling it anyway, is maybe grandfathering in 19 and 20-year-olds because they was, been buying the products for a year, 2 years. It's not only hurting, thousands, if not millions of people that's been able to buy it for a year or two that got the right stripped away from them.
So you're saying you want it to be a bit fairer, is what you're trying to say? Is that where I'm going?
Stop. That's ludicrous. Come on. Be fair.
No, what I'm saying is there's an issue here. I want to bring up when you raise the age of 21, a couple things happen here, and I'm old enough to remember them changing the drinking age to 21, right? A lot of people aren't old enough to remember that, but I actually lived through that as a teen. That's how old I am, right? So, and what happened was the goal was the same thing, Charles. It was to keep beer out of high school. That was the goal. And the funny thing is,
yes, sir,
it actually worked. I mean, there was less beer in high schools, but there were two terrible side effects that no one seemed to care about and no one even talks about. Number one was a huge increase in kids using marijuana and other ways of getting high, because it was actually easier to get weed than it was to get beer.
They're going for that buzz. It doesn't matter what it is.
Exactly right. They were going for the buzz. So actually you saw a massive increase in kids in high school smoking weed because they couldn't get beer anymore. And not just that. When I was a kid, you drank at 18, which means you drank at 16, 17, right? And when you drank, when did you get drunk? You got blackout drunk in your mom's basement around friends and family. No big deal. Well, now what happens?
You're sneaking it. You're hiding it.
No, they don't get blackout drunk. They get to college. And now they get blackout drunk in college with a bunch of college kids. And what do we have? Date rape upon date rape upon date rape, problems, issues, concerns, all kind of crap. Now you're getting blackout drunk.
And not paying attention to your studies.
Not paying attention to your studies, nothing. And there's no one there to support you, right? When I got blackout drunk, my mom was there, right? I was a kid, so it was fine.
Probably wasn't happy, but she at least was there.
Yes, she wasn't happy, of course, but I learned my lesson. I hardly ever drink now because of that. It's very rare that I drink. I drink like, holiday champagne type thing. That's it. And it wasn't because I was afraid of it. It just wasn't my thing. But I learned my lesson as a teenager. So while this vaping ban may have less vaping in high school, it may work. I don't know. But there will absolutely be side effects that they won't understand. And I would rather people, kids, adults, teenagers, learn your
education.
Lesson. Yes.
We need education instead of bans. I mean, what are we doing from changing the age from 18 to 21 except limiting access for what, 3 years?
Yes.
That's a 3-year window?
Yes.
And if you don't think that there's kids in high school that have friends and family members that are over the age of 21, nothing is going to happen besides shutting down businesses and scaring people going back to smoking.
Yes.
Which is what they want.
Yes. And something else, I was in the Marine Corps when they changed the date in most state, the age in most states to 21. Most people don't know it didn't happen overnight in every state. It happened slowly. Different states changed it. And
just the way it's happening right now
Correct.
with T21.
Same thing happened with drinking. So we had guys who literally could go on the base and drink and go off the base, and it was against the law. Because the base was federal land. So you'd be an 18-year-old, 19-year-old Marine, get hammered, walk outside the base, you're a criminal. And this kind of thing happened constantly, and this same kind of thing is going to happen again.
I feel like our forefathers fought for this not to happen. I think people forgot that lesson in school.
100%. 100%. So, Charles, is there something else you want to talk about, or was that it?
That was pretty much it. I appreciate you guys for having me on the air.
Absolutely, my friend. Thanks for calling.
No problem.
All right, I'm going to head over to Oklahoma City. We're going to Oklahoma. Look at us. We're going everywhere. You are having me cross the entire country today, Matt.
We are everywhere.
I can
13
tell.
million strong.
God.
I mean, there are people everywhere that vape or at least want to talk about it. Let's have the discussion.
100%. You don't just vape, you vote. You vape, you call. Even better. Going to grab Craig. Craig, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great. How are you tonight?
I'm doing awesome. Talk to me, my friend. You are on the air.
All right. So I've got a vape shop here in Oklahoma City, and I also participate very heavily in advocacy, which, I feel like every single vape shop owner should definitely be doing. And unfortunately, a whole lot of them don't. But it's not my topic. My topic is two things. One is T21, which you guys have already touched quite a bit on. Mm-hmm. One thing that I would like to include on that is, there's some quote unquote BS studies out there that say, vaping is a gateway to smoking. Well, they're about to prove themselves right whenever they cut off the 18, 19, and 20-year-olds.
And that's what I was saying. They create their own statistics to work in their favor.
Oh, it's amazing. I
agree
that.
100%. It just makes me sick. That part, that they're smart enough to know this. we also know they're smart enough to know that vaping is much less harmful than smoking.
Mm-hmm.
So that part really bums me out to, just on the T21, not to mention, the fact that a military person can go out and make a conscious decision to take a life.
Yes.
Also, people are old enough to vote these people out of office, which I hope they take that opportunity right now. I really hope they take that opportunity.
I love
we
that.
Vape, we vote.
Also, Matt, I got a chance to meet you at the DC rally. It was really nice to meet you and listen to you speak. It was pretty powerful. Rock on.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it.
Nice.
Absolutely.
All right.
The next thing I would like to say is I'm in Oklahoma, and it seems like anytime something comes up in Oklahoma, they'll come to a couple shops. One of them's mine, and interview us on television. And I hate to say I hate to sound hypocritical, but the fact is, right now Oklahoma doesn't even know what's going on with T21. But everybody says, it went into effect in December on the 20th. So me getting on the television saying, well, as far as we know, it's in effect, but nobody's enforcing it. But I can't say, so I'm going to keep selling to 18-year-olds, you know what I mean? But they can certainly go down the street.
Just be smart, brother. Just be smart. I'm not telling you what to do, but all I'm saying is just be smart and do what is necessary. That's all I have to say about that.
Wow.
Yes, sir. I've taken a tally, which I've put up on United, and I put it up there with a whole bunch of statistics, and so far it looks about like 15% of our stuff, of our sales are 18, 19, and 20-year-olds, which is going to hurt. But,
yep.
I'm going to bite that bullet, and
there's still 85% that aren't.
Thing.
Yeah, no, that's actually that's a big hit, but not the end of the world. I get you. I understand completely. All righty, my friend. Thank you so much for calling. I appreciate it.
Well, there's one more thing, man.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, we've got a unique scenario here in Oklahoma. Back in 2015, actually 2014, we made it to where you had to be 18 to enter or purchase or sample in a vape shop.
Okay.
Or actually to sample or purchase, not to enter. But if you have nicotine on the counter or within reach, they have to be 18 or older to enter. If you sample with nicotine, they have to be 18 or older to enter. If not, you can allow 18-year-olds, just not under 18, just not near the sales counter.
Okay.
So it's kind of weird. But we also passed a law stating that in Oklahoma, vapor products are not a tobacco product. So I know the law. Yeah, I know the law now says vapor products, you can't sell to anyone under 21. But is that lumped up in tobacco? What's your take on that?
I can't stand it being lumped into a tobacco. I can't stand it. It's not tobacco. It's not combustible. It's not tobacco.
It's not combustible tobacco. Yes. There's no actual tobacco.
It's a fog machine.
No, I agree 100%. I totally hear what you're saying. I'm just wondering what you think as far as T21 being in Oklahoma. This is not a tobacco product, but they state vapor products in the law.
No, I hope that means it's a lawsuit, and I hope it goes to the Supreme Court.
We'll see what happens.
Amen.
I hope it is. Absolutely. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate the call.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. I'm going to cheat, and I'm going to ask for Georgia to come on if she can, if I can grab Georgia. And there's a reason why I want Georgia on if I can grab her, because Georgia's last name is Sharpe, which is my last name. How are you, Georgia?
Hello, handsome husband.
Yes, absolutely. What's going on?
Okay, so I'm listening to the show, and I'm really angry.
Uh-oh.
The whole thing is ridiculous. And you haven't brought up the fact of who's behind the curtain. Who are the lobbyists that are paying these guys and gals to pass this legislation?
Hold on. He just said Michael Bloomberg. Baby.
Michael Bloomberg is investing $160 million into anti-vaping, anti-flavor campaigns. The other lobbyists as well.
Thank you. Okay. I had it on mute. I didn't hear that. Okay. That's what I wanted to know.
Yes.
Got my answer.
See, I got a smart wife, guys.
Look at the health orgs, American Cancer Association, American Lung Association, American Heart Association, American Pediatric Association. Look at all of these health groups, and you will find ties directly to people who are pushing for anti-vaping campaigns and statements that were originally made now being stricken and now being negative vaping.
Okay.
There we go.
Sounds good. The word needs to get out who's sending out the negativity and who's out against them. But I don't think it's out there and well known is what I'm saying.
We're working on it.
Absolutely.
Good job.
Thank you, baby.
All right. Bye.
Yes, I cheated. I had my wife on, guys. Sorry, I did cheat. Absolutely.
She is wonderful.
So, all right. If I could, I want to bring in some more people because I want to kind of shift the chat. I know we've been talking a lot about vaping. I want to shift it from what the government says we can't put into our body into what the government says we must put in our body. So, Matt, can I get you to shift over if you don't mind? You can stay if you want. Happy to have you to stay, but if you can shift over.
I'm gonna shift right on over. This is interesting to me.
Go good. Come on in. Yes. Come on in, please. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Good.
Good to meet you.
Hi, how are you?
Great to
Good. Do you go by Larry also?
Sure do.
Larry's an awesome name.
It sure is.
Yes. Have a seat. Have a seat,
Larrys
please.
don't make a right?
Yeah, two Larrys absolutely make a right. Yes, they do.
They do make a right.
Yes. Those are your headsets, if you don't mind. And please get close to that microphone. And for those of you who don't know, we're making a minor shift. We are now adding two more people into this mix. And the people we're bringing on, Rita Palma. Did I say it right?
You did.
Awesome. And hold on. It's Lawrence, if I get it right, Palevsky?
Perfect.
Palevsky. There we go. I can pronounce. There's one thing I can do is pronounce. Palevsky, yes. You guys consider yourselves advocates, right?
Yes, Larry's actually an MD and an advocate for the cause as well, vaccine choice. But I am an activist, advocate, lobbyist, whatever the day happens to be bringing.
Well, the funny thing is, what the Liberty Movement brings together is specific issues like this. Because in our view, even though they're different, right? Vaping versus vaccines are different. The concepts in our view are the same. We own our own bodies. And I don't want the government telling me what I can't put in. And I also don't want the government telling me what I must put in. I don't want either of those things to be true.
Freedom.
Freedom, yes. That's what I'm looking for. So please tell me, what's your big issue here?
My issue is, well, I'm coming at this from as a parent who many years ago decided to refuse vaccines for reasons of faith. And my school district pushed back, interrogated me about my religious beliefs for a number of hours. And I came out of the whole experience thinking no parent should ever be treated this way.
Right.
There's nobody that has the best interests of their children in mind as I do. There's nobody who can make better decisions for them than I can. And how dare a school district official question that authority and question the wisdom and judgment I have for my children?
Well, I have a couple pieces to that. The first one is, even if you can't, it's still not their business.
Correct.
Even if you aren't that smart or that good of a parent. I'm not saying you are. I'm saying, but even if you aren't, it's still
the government should not parent
Yes,
our kids.
It's the government's job, even if you aren't. So
Right.
I hope you're an amazing, I'm sure you are because you're here, so you care. I'm sure you're an amazing parent. But even if you weren't, it's the government's job to decide, oh, you know what, you're the bad one, so I got to do this for you.
Right.
And the other piece is, I remember in New York State, the first thing they did in New York State was remove the religious exemption. And I thought to myself, if you're going to remove an exemption, that's exactly the wrong one, right? The freedom of religion is in the First Amendment, right? If you're going to get rid of any of them, why that one, right? That's completely and utterly wrong, and immediately got me saying, what are we doing here, right? To be forward with you, my kids are vaccinated. I'm not anti-vax. My wife was worried. She was just on. My wife was very worried about vaccinations, and she did. I'm going to get it wrong, I'm sure, but if she did something where she lengthened out the maximum time in between vaccines or whatever was legal, she did something like that because she was concerned, but she still wanted to vaccinate. I'm not an anti-vax person. I'm an anti-mandate person. If your religious views, if your social views, if your medical views, if insert your views here, if they say, I don't want this in my child's body, I'm okay with that. I really am. So I'm sorry, you're quiet. Please, Larry, awesome, the man with the cool name. Please jump in.
Okay, thanks for having us here.
Absolutely.
The problem is that the government is making a mandate based on a science that has lots of falsehoods in it. So they're using the idea that if you vaccinate everybody, you'll be saving public health and protecting everybody. And they're also—
Isn't that called the herd
immunity?
Thank you. Herd immunity. Thank you.
But there are a lot of holes in that theory. In fact, herd immunity is a theory. It's not a fact. And unfortunately, both the state and the medical systems are not allowing for a proper scientific discussion so that we can actually show the public that the idea of herd immunity, the idea of vaccinating people to stop the spread of illness, is not scientifically backed. But they're using that as a threat as to why you have to mandate in order to preserve public health. What you don't hear is the number of cases of infectious illnesses that are happening in fully vaccinated kids, in fully vaccinated populations.
I think you do hear some of that, don't you? I mean,
don't
hasn't
hear
there
all of
recently
it.
been, if I remember right, hasn't there recently been a bunch of people talking about how ineffective, for example, the flu vaccines are? I remember, and I'm not. This is not something that I look for often, right? It's not my issue. Mm-hmm. And someone like me who isn't looking for it, even I've heard, hey, the flu vaccine doesn't work or hasn't worked, whatever the case may be. Even I've heard that.
Correct. I mean, there have been pertussis outbreaks.
Cool. Hold on 1 second. Move over. Yep, that's what he's asking you to do.
Oh,
Here we go.
Okay.
Yeah. Don't worry, just tell him it's live. Don't worry, just tell him. It's all good. It's our show. We just do stuff. Yes. Please go. I'm sorry. The outbreaks you mentioned.
There have been pertussis outbreaks in fully 100% vaccinated populations. There have been chickenpox outbreaks in fully vaccinated populations. There have even been measles outbreaks in predominantly vaccinated populations. So the idea that giving a vaccine to a person stops them from carrying the germ to spread to others is accepted as true, but has no basis in scientific fact.
But isn't that what vaccines are all about, right? Didn't we? If I remember the story, and I may be ignorant here, so let me know if I'm making this wrong. I remember the story during the Black Plague. They were making vaccines by taking pieces of the scab and putting into other people, and then they'd be vaccinated from the Black Plague. Is that the right smallpox? Thank you. Was that the right story? Did I mess it up?
So what you hear in the news is that the vaccine was actually 100% responsible for reducing the number of cases of smallpox.
There we go. Yes,
that's what you hear in the news.
But that's not true, is it?
Well, again, that's not the full story.
Okay.
Again, it's not a matter of what's true or not true.
Okay.
It's a matter of whether or not you're including all the information that is available about what happened. And there's plenty of evidence that the use of the vaccine actually increased the number of cases of smallpox in populations of those who were vaccinated. And in fact, once people understood...
Increased that's exactly the opposite.
Correct. And that's what happened when we introduced the first polio vaccine in 1955. We increased the number of cases of polio. So back in the smallpox time, what they did was they understood finally how smallpox was transmitted from person to person, and they quarantined those who had smallpox, and then they did something called ring vaccination around those who had the most optimal closeness, or those who had the most contact with those who had the smallpox. And by just vaccinating in a ring around those who were sick, and by quarantining those who were sick, the number of cases went down. But the news tells you that the vaccine is the only thing that was responsible for reducing the incidence of smallpox. Okay. Same thing happened with polio. With polio, there was an increase in the number of cases of polio with the introduction of the injectable.
But hold on. So is there an increase in things like rubella and whooping cough and things of that sort, which are being vaccinated now? Are you saying that it takes time before they get the vaccine right? I'm not exactly sure what you're saying. You saying that they need time to get the vaccine correct?
What I'm saying is that there is shedding of vaccine materials after vaccines are given, especially if they are live vaccines. And the shedding of those materials can increase the likelihood of those around you to get sick from the actual material in the vaccines.
Okay. All right.
So the second piece.
Yeah. You're really trying to blow my mind now. Is that what you're trying to do?
The more
he's really good at it.
He's good. Okay, keep going.
The more blowing, the better.
Okay, go ahead.
So the second piece about what the problem is with government mandates is that they're saying unequivocally that the materials that we're injecting into the bodies of our children are completely safe, and they've been fully tested. And that couldn't be further from the truth. There's never been true, honest safety testing of these materials in the injection of them into the body.
Well, hold on. I remember someone telling me about this. It was saying, I don't know if it's the same thing you're telling me, but about the idea that we don't know specifically because of some special populations, right? Populations like Hasidic Jews, which tend to intermarry and stay together and have similar genetic codes that aren't more with the mainstream. Amish, like that if if you try to vaccinate those, you really have a problem because they're not genetically prepared for things like that. Are you going there, or is it a different spot?
I'm going different spot.
You are trying.
That was a great point, though. I mean, and that's what goes back to the blanket cases.
Exactly.
Nothing works for blanketing because you're going to have each group of people have different reactions to things.
Absolutely.
You're going to have different
the question
environmental areas. There's going to be different populations.
And how many kids are you prepared to sacrifice for that, right? How many kids are you prepared to sacrifice who are going to have the adverse effect to the thing you're putting in them?
Again, the government is telling you that the sacrifices are minimal. So what we have today is somewhere between 1 in every 35 to 1 in every 50 children with autism. You have 1 in 5 children with neurological disabilities. You have 1 in 9 children with asthma. You have 1 in 11 children with ADHD. You have 1 in 13 with severe allergies. And the allergies are getting more fatal.
Are you saying it's because of vaccines?
I'm saying to you that there's a sufficient amount of science to demonstrate how the materials in vaccines are potentially possible to contribute to some, many, or even a large of many in those cases. And the government and the scientific community refuses to look at the data and to look at the science of the materials that are in the vaccines that actually correlate with producing the negative effects that we're seeing in children.
So this is the issue that I brought up earlier when I came to the vaccine. I thought about the idea of, all right, I don't know how much of that is accurate. I have no idea. So I'll take your doctor, I'll take it as true. Fine, don't know. What if we instead simply got rid of the government mandate and simply opened it up to the idea that if a company wants to produce a vaccine, a safe vaccine, they can do that if they want to, right? And if there are bad things in the vaccine, from what I understand from most people who are anti-vaccination, it isn't the concept of vaccines they're against. It's what's in the vaccine that they're against, specific ideas or specific things or ingredients that they don't want to be. Is it called an ingredient? Whatever it's.
An adjuvant.
I'm sorry?
Components.
An adjuvant or components.
Component, thank you. The specific components that are in the vaccine. So if you allowed another company to say, hey, we're going to make a vaccine, and what are your specifications? Doctor, you want that? We could do that instead. And then each parent could pick the vaccine they wanted to pick.
Well, you know, if I could,
Go ahead,
I
please.
could make a comment on that.
Yeah.
Most of the developed democracies in the world actually have a voluntary sort of opt-in program.
Sure.
So Sweden, Denmark, Japan, Canada, they don't have mandatory vaccines where the acceptance of the CDC schedule exactly according to the CDC schedule determines whether or not you have access to an education. So that's a ridiculous connection when you really think it through.
I don't trust the CDC in general, to be 100% honest.
They're certainly not to be trusted. 75% of their money actually comes from industry. People think they're just a government-supported organization. They're not. They're a for-profit organization, and they're really a vaccine company. So these other countries that have opt-in systems, Canada, Denmark, they have high immunization rates, but the parents are saying if, when, how many. They also have much shorter
I'm totally okay with
lists.
that idea. I like the parents saying if, when, how much.
If they knew the comparisons, they would be okay with it too. Like, for example, back in the 60s and the 70s, there were, single-digit vaccines that were given to the kids. I had 4. I was born in 1963. We now have 54 mandated vaccines, and if you go according to the CDC schedule, it's in the 70s. So that came as a result of back in the 80s, the vaccine companies were indemnified. They were protected from liability. So you cannot directly sue a vaccine manufacturer for a faulty product. They had no reason not to go hog wild and increase the list at their whim after 1989. And if you look at the chronic illnesses that were present in our young children, pre-1989 and post-1989, right now, there's 54% of our children have chronic illnesses. Back then, it was about 10. So do vaccines have everything to do with it? Well, let's investigate it. Let's answer those compelling questions. What we get is, vaccine injury, it's 1 in a million, 1 in a million. Well, that would mean that I know, 1,000 million people because
You're popular.
Well, the numbers are just way off. Vaccine injury is not rare. It's very, very common.
Okay, I want to grab a couple of calls if I could, guys. A couple of calls if I could. All right, I'm going to go to Buffalo. She's been waiting for a very long time. She actually called in early during the vaping segment, so I kind of want to make sure I get her if I can, if she's still there. Gina, are you still there? Gina, are you still there?
I am still here.
You are the best. Thank you so much for waiting as long as you did. You're the best. You are live on the air. Please go ahead.
Well, I was just wanting to talk about the whole medical mandates with the government overreach and how ridiculous and just unconstitutional and scary it is that our government officials think that they have the right to tell us what we can and cannot do with our body. And I feel like it's one of those things that, they are taking this and they're saying, okay, this must be done in one sense, but then in another sense, they're giving freedom to others. So
Hold on. Tell me the others part. Tell me who's the others.
So, like, for example, like those that want to be pregnant for 9 months and then decide to abort a baby, from what I've heard from those that have actually read in depth in the law, is that the baby can be born and the mother can say, oh, I'm done with it. No, I don't want it. And the baby has to be killed right then and there. Like that is a parent right there that's making a choice based upon what they want for their child, right? And they're giving freedom to them, but yet they're taking away our freedoms. They're giving freedoms to those that are coming in illegally to our country. They're giving freedoms to their children to go to school, but they're taking away my child's education and right.
I'm not sure if I can link those three, but I get what you're saying.
Spicy.
Well, yeah, it is getting spicy. I love spice. Let's spice it up. I'm in. Yes.
Well, no, it's not that they're linked necessarily in the subject matter, but the government. Unless I'm wrong, the government.
No, if you're bidding up the government, you're probably right. It's fine.
Okay, well,
you're probably right.
I like to try to be right. No, yes. But the government, wasn't their role supposed to be to protect the citizens and to work for the good of the citizens? It wasn't to put into law what they like their agenda.
Well, let me touch a couple things if I could. All right, if I could touch the first one. One is the government, I don't think, is supposed to be protecting every citizen. I mean, the president took the same oath that I took, and I take it all the time. I mean, I talk about it all the time. When I was a Marine, I took an oath to defend and protect the Constitution, not every single American.
Yeah.
Right?
There you go. That's
I'm
true.
trying to defend the system that allows us to survive and thrive and grow and pursue life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. So I don't think the government's job is to protect every individual citizen. It's to try to create the best possible environment for each citizen to achieve happiness the way they want to achieve it. That's how I see it, at least. And I wish most people.
That's not happening in New York.
That is not happening at all.
But
You're totally
not
correct.
happening.
Yes,
No.
it's
But
not.
It's not even like that you're trying to protect every citizen, but like you said, that every citizen can live their life free from judgment, from persecution. And all they've done is they've
not judgment, just persecution.
Yeah.
I was going to say, now we're starting to sound like a
judgment's fine.
fantasy at this point.
Judgment's fine, but like at the same time, at the end of judgment is the persecution, right? Like judgment leads to that.
That's true, yes.
And I feel that there's been such an evil, corrupt, and I don't even know where it came from. I mean, I know where it comes from. It comes from Cuomo, but anyways, that now it's just the government is.
All right, let me keep going here. I got you. Let me keep going here. I'm with you too, because my other issue is right when the government decides what can go in your body. I actually don't have a problem with the government saying, "Here is what we think." I don't have a problem with the CDC list. I don't. Have a list.
Fine.
Yes.
Knock yourself out.
That's correct. Yeah. Have the list, and if I choose to believe
in it,
and
I'll work it out.
Post it online.
I'll get back to you guys. How's that sound?
Online.
Yeah.
And if I like it, then I will go and abide by that list because
freedom of choice.
Right.
Yes.
But here it goes.
Right.
Here goes.
Exactly.
Here goes.
And
Hold on a second,
Gina, hold on one second. Gina, hold on a second. Go ahead, Larry.
Right.
Go.
Okay.
But when you have people walking around saying that your unvaccinated child is a threat to my child, you're not only creating an adversarial interaction there, but you're basing it on information that the government has told you is true.
Yes.
Without necessarily delving into whether there is truth to the fact that an unvaccinated child is a threat.
Well,
the unvaccinated children are being blamed for all of a sudden carrying the germs that vaccinated children are somehow no longer carrying because the vaccine has made them to no longer carry the germ.
It's an outrageous
in a good scientific discussion, we could very easily and quickly break that down and show you that it makes no scientific sense and it's not true. Unfortunately, it's been a myth that has been blown into fact that has made everybody walk around looking at your unvaccinated child and saying, get away from me, you're diseased.
But if you're already vaccinated, the anti-vax child wouldn't affect you.
Yeah, you're making sense. I'm sorry to say.
That's what I'm not. That's not what I'm understanding.
But you're making sense. You see, this is the problem. Is that an unvaccinated child who is well, no symptoms, not sick, not coughing, no fever, is all of a sudden the only one carrying the infectious agent, because somehow those who are vaccinated are no longer carrying the infectious agent. That there has no scientific basis in that.
No.
But the media and the government and the scientific community have grabbed onto that to make it so that you're going to be afraid to not be around. You're going to be afraid to be around an unvaccinated child. So the public is walking around believing that the unvaccinated child is a threat and going to make your child sick, even if you're vaccinated.
But hold on, but what I'm seeing now, right? And I see it in this show. I see it when I cross the state. This is funny because you brought up a very important point. You said, "Well, what if you're not vaccinated? If you're vaccinated, what do you care if you're vaccinated already? It doesn't matter, right?"
Yeah.
That's kind of how I thought when I first began my campaign in 2017. In September 2017, I thought, vaccines, who cares? No one cares about that. No one cares about that issue. Why? Because because my kids were already older and already vaccinated. I thought nobody cared. Boy, was I wrong. Oh my God, was it a big issue across this state? I had no idea how big this issue was.
That is good to hear.
Yes, I was completely blindsided by this. But I took it on. But I took it on for several reasons. Number one, I believe that if the government wasn't the rule, we had a way of just saying, this is the government's idea. But also, here's a good doctor's idea. And here's your idea. And here's my idea, that in certain areas, you would find an actual conversation, and that myth, if that's true, would begin to move away. I think you're seeing it already. There were a lot of people who, when I was young, couldn't wait to get vaccines because it was the magic pill, right? It was the magic pill. We get vaccines, and now all of a sudden, my kid will live till he's 300, right? Get vaccines. It's a magic pill, right? Yeah. I think now people do question, and my wife is not anti-vax either, but she was questioning. She's like, "Oh no, is this right? What should I wait?" And she did her homework.
So Larry,
right back in the day, no one did their homework. They just took what the doctor said. Here's a shot.
Where have you seen the media, the government, or the scientific community, or the medical community allow for a public discourse?
You haven't. That's my point.
They don't.
That's my point.
Larry,
and I'm saying if you have a politician who will say, open it up to have everyone talk, you will see that. But you don't see that right now because
no, not in New York, but you're starting to see it in other places in the country.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Go ahead, Gina. I'm sorry.
Larry, you know what's interesting? No, it's okay. You know what's interesting that you say that about a public debate is I've been going around doing protests around the Western New York area, and there was a time when I actually came face to face with Karen Menza, who is the head of the immunization department of Erie County Health. And she was trying to debate me on this topic about vaccines and blah, blah, blah. And the only thing that she could offer back to me was, well, do you eat fish? And I'm like, why? Because of the mercury in it? Like, how does that equate to shooting into your bloodstream? All these different ingredients.
Hundreds of
And the one question I asked her that I haven't been able to get an answer from any doctor, because I've asked multiple doctors.
Well, we got one here. He might have it. He might have it.
No. But I'm sure he would answer the same as, and anybody in the healthcare system is this. If I vaccinate my child against my personal convictions based on my religious beliefs, would you sign a document stating that if anything occurs from these vaccines, because you're saying they're safe, you're saying they're effective, that if anything occurs and happens to my child, that you will be held responsible? If you have that much faith in these,
wow,
or take them yourself.
That much faith,
take 72 vaccines yourself.
Yes, then you would be willing to sign this. And you know what she sat there and said to me?
What'd she say?
What do you mean by responsible?
Wow.
And I go, you would be held responsible 100% that these vaccines, you're claiming they're safe and they're effective, that you would be held responsible. She couldn't answer me.
Okay,
So-
Gina,
so
hold
let
on.
me give a
Let,
little history.
let's let
Okay,
the
hold
good
on,
doctor
Gina.
answer.
Let me
Go
give
ahead.
you a little history. Before 1986, when the National Vaccine Injury Compensation Act was passed, vaccine manufacturers had already paid out over $3 billion in liability claims because people were winning against their products because the products were dangerous and maiming and killing and hurting. In 1986, the vaccine manufacturers had their liability removed except for design defect.
Okay.
In other words, if anybody could prove that there was a design defect or they could have made a safer vaccine, they could have been brought to court. After the 1986 Act, in the Act, originally, doctors were now held liable for any bad outcome that happened with the vaccines. Within a year or two, the doctors' lobbyists had that removed. So the only organization that was liable were the vaccine manufacturers, but only for design defect. Plus, you could not sue the vaccine manufacturers directly. In 2011, the courts removed any civil liability against the vaccine manufacturers. And the Supreme Court stated that vaccines were unavoidably unsafe. Now, if you
So hold on. Did you say unavoidably unsafe?
that's not my words.
Yes.
That's the Supreme Court's words.
Okay.
Right.
So the bottom line is that I've known parents who have made that claim to physicians, and not one of them are willing to sign the affidavit. The bottom line is that not enough parents are standing up to physicians and saying, we're in a contract. We're essentially in a contract. I'm contracting you to take care of my kid. And in this contract, these are my demands as part of my commercial interaction.
Sure.
Right. If we can start getting more parents to create a commercial contractual agreement between them and the doctors, between them and the manufacturers, between them and the governor, between them and the politicians.
Well, I'm sure that will happen when we have Medicare for all.
Well,
I'm
no,
kidding.
it's starting to happen.
I'm totally kidding.
See, but Larry,
I'm totally kidding.
it's already starting to happen with 5G.
No, I'm actually agreeing with you. I think that the idea of a doctor-patient relationship, sadly, it has gone away. But for some people, it's starting to come back now because they're seeing the issues and concerns that you're talking about. It isn't just vaccines; it's many other things. It's prescription drugs, it's opioids, it's all types of things. It's whatever I want to put into my body or my family's body. I completely agree.
Doctors are lying about
You
vaping.
mentioned
And vaping, yes, same thing, yes, absolutely.
You talked about the religious exemption being repealed back in June. A month after that, they further restricted the medical exemption.
Yes.
So now, not only is the government getting between the parent and the child.
2 months after.
I'm sorry, 2 months?
August.
Okay.
Yes.
August 16th.
But now the New York State Legislature has taken upon themselves to get between the patient-doctor relationship. Between the doctor and the child.
I can't write a medical exemption.
And
I
some
have another
doctors,
issue here.
It's so outrageous. I just want to mention this, that I read one story today where a mom could not find a doctor willing to give a particular shot to a particular child because it would harm that child. She couldn't find a doctor to do it. Still in all, her medical exemption was denied. So these doctors who will put in writing, I can't give this shot to your child because I know it's going to hurt him, if not kill him. And still, she hands those letters into the school, and the school says, sorry, not good enough.
Yeah, there's another piece,
how
though.
How can that be?
Because we're accepting that the government knows everything. To your point, there's no one. I don't talk to anybody because the government knows, right? Government says so, therefore it's true, right? Once you do that, I know I go to the slippery slope. Some people get mad at me when I do it, but I go down a slippery slope. Once the government says, well, because it's right for the children,
Good of the people,
the children, you have to vaccinate. What happens when they say, well, because it's good of the people, you'll have to have this other injection? And now it's not just kids, but it's adults.
Well, that's on the road.
Yeah.
Yes,
It's
that's right down the road,
Yep.
right?
Here's
The
what
government is here to help
Well,
you.
I think that
here's what I
think
see
the
happening.
Religious exemption.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Gina.
Sorry, I think the religious exemption was that beginning because you see they weren't stupid with passing the religious exemption. Everybody thought that they were going to pass the without parental consent first, full way. But what they did was they passed the religious exemption. Why? Because now this HPV shot That's against Christian belief.
Mm-hmm.
That's against a lot of Christian beliefs. So now you can't claim a religious exemption for this.
Right.
So they weren't stupid in the way they chose to go about this. This wasn't let's just pass the religious exemption. They know passing this that all of a sudden now HPV, well, the Christians can't claim a religious exemption anymore,
but
they're going to have to get it.
The HPV thing is another thing that doesn't guys. Tell me if I'm wrong here. Can't you only get HPV from sexual intercourse?
That's right.
Isn't that correct?
It's a sexually transmitted disease.
It's an STD, right?
Unless schools have changed, I really don't see the point of having it mandated for the school children. There's sex isn't occurring in school buildings.
But no, even if it is,
it's not.
Yeah, well, just.
I mean,
but it is. But my point being, the HPV piece isn't like if I'm just around the sick kid, right? Which is the screaming for the other one is the sick kid will kill us all, right? HPV isn't. Is the sick kid gonna have sex with us all? Is that going to happen?
Well,
I don't get the HPV piece at all.
Well,
it's not to be governed. It's completely ridiculous. It's totally driven by money.
Here's how it's happening. Doctors are being told by the insurance companies that if they don't have a certain percentage of vaccinated children in their practices, that they will lose certain bonuses from the insurance companies as part of the agreements.
That I believe.
So they have essentially discharged children from their practice whose parents had not been vaccinating them.
Got it. I see.
And I was told by a parent that the pediatrician told her that if he didn't give a certain amount of the HPV vaccines, that he would be dinged by the insurance companies.
Who wants to be dinged? Not me.
Right. So
I don't want to be dinged at all.
So on top of that, what you then have is doctors telling parents in front of their adolescent boys and girls, well, then if you don't get the shot, your kid's going to get cervical cancer or your kid's going to get penile cancer or anal cancer.
Right.
So they're creating threats when no scientific study has ever shown that the HPV vaccine has protected against one case of cervical cancer.
All right, guys. I want to grab another call. Gina, thank you for calling, but I got to grab someone else. I'm so happy you actually waited. Thank you so much.
You know, and
Thank
what
you.
about
Have a
what
great
about
day.
us, Larry? What about the grown-ups, right? What about anybody who was over 30 years old? But under vaccinated right here why am I not a dangerous person?
You are. I'm scared now.
Yeah.
I would have run out.
I can be pretty scary, but not tonight.
You don't fit their narrative. That's the problem. You don't fit their narrative.
Right. Yes.
They're using the kids as, once again, a shield, the same way they're doing in the vaping argument where it's for the kids. It's for the kids. We have to protect the kids. And that's why I quoted Hitler on the Department of Health hearing and compared what New York State was doing with the vaping industry, and especially Andrew Cuomo, to Hitler by using the kids as a shield for the MSA blood money. That's what they're doing. They're using the kids as the shield because if you are against anything that they say, you hate children.
Right.
You hate children.
You see what's happening.
You hate children.
I don't know that I understand that, but you see, the thing is that most people in our culture have given up their authority to the authority.
I think that's true.
Said,
yes,
I trust you. I have no reason to doubt you. I know you're protecting me.
You've got a white lab coat on.
You're taking care of me.
And it's easy.
Why would I even
have to think.
doubt that you're doing anything to harm us?
Sure.
Why would I even think about it? And so what you see is this huge polarized community of people who are screaming bits and pieces of information that are not based on their own research, but they're based on what they have been told from the authority is true. So who's the authority? New York Times, Fox News, ABC.
Special interest groups,
lobbyists. And so you hear people saying, no, vaccines are safe. They've been thoroughly tested. And yet you can't find any true safety tests that were done. And any tests that you will find have been done by the very companies who are invested in making sure of the sale of those products.
Speaking of, let me grab his call real fast if I can. Oh, we lost one. I'm sorry. Let me try to get one more back if I could. I'm going to see if I can grab... we're going to Brooklyn. We're going to stay in New York. We're going to go to Brooklyn. We're going to grab Billy. He's been in the line for a while. Billy, are you there, Billy? I think Billy, are you there?
Who?
Billy in Brooklyn.
Danny?
Oh, was it Danny in Brooklyn?
No, this is Danny from Alabama.
You know what? I'll take Danny from Alabama. Then how are you, brother?
I'm doing good. And you?
I'm doing great. We've kind of shifted into vaccines, but if you got a vaping question, I still got Matt here. Ask away, brother.
Well, I don't really have a vaping question. I have a vaping statement.
Tell me.
So there's that.
Tell me.
So this whole T21 thing, which I'm totally against. I have a shop in Pensacola just outside of 2 Navy bases that are all student bases.
Mm-hmm.
So, I got a bunch of kids that come in, that were coming in, and they were buying vapes, and now they're not allowed to anymore.
Mm.
Not only that, but then the military tells them that they're going to get penalized. So if they get caught 3 times smoking or vaping, they're going to go to captain's mast, and they could get removed from the Navy.
Oh my God! So wow! You know what this reminds me of? Again, I'm giving my age. When I was in the Marine Corps, when I first joined the Marine Corps, we didn't have direct deposit. There was still a paymaster who would go around and actually give you your check or give you cash. That's how you actually got paid once a month. The guy would come by and give you a check or give you cash. When I was in the Marine Corps is when it changed over. We went to every 2 weeks, which was a big deal for us in the early 80s. And we went to a check, and we had checking accounts. And the problem was you had a bunch of young Marines, 18, 19 years old, who didn't know how to balance a checkbook, who had no idea.
Well, crayons weren't involved.
Shut up, be quiet. It's crayons. Yes, but you can still write a check with crayon. Anyway, so yes. So they didn't know how to do any of these things. They had no idea. So what did the military do? It punished them for bouncing checks. And it ruined just hundreds of Marines' careers because it punished them with what we called, going to captain's mast, same idea, right? Marine Corps is part of the Navy. Same idea. And we'd get in trouble, and because they were bouncing checks, the guy would say, I called the bank, and the bank said I had money, so I wrote a check. They had no idea about if you write a check and it would float. It was just impossible to them. And I think we'll find the same thing here. We've got a new rule. They're going right to punishment, and you're going to ruin a bunch of sailors' lives. You're going to ruin their careers because they just want to vape, and they've been vaping for whatever amount of time they've been vaping, and now they can't. I am heartbroken to hear that.
They're all 18, 19, and 20 on these student bases, right?
Yep.
So they've been vaping for, a year or 2 at least, and now they can't. But
Yes.
see, here's the difference. So, because I heard you talking about, and I was in the Army in '83.
Also,
So when the whole alcohol thing came up where you had to be 21, same thing for me. I'd go to the NCO club. I could go buy a 6-pack of beer and drink on base, and there's no big deal.
Yes.
But the problem with that is that the federal government doesn't have a drinking age or age to buy alcohol. They twisted the state's arms to do it by saying, we're not going to give you the money to fix your roads if you don't change the age to 21.
Right.
So it wasn't a federal mandate. It was a state mandate.
Right. No, I know they did. They said if you didn't do certain rules, all of a sudden we cut federal funding for roads. I remember that. Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. Wow. Thank you for that, my friend. That's awesome.
And the other thing is, so with the vaccine thing, which I was listening to, so I got a little bit for that too.
Tell me.
I've got 3 kids, right? They're all in their 30s now. None of them were vaccinated.
Mm-hmm.
Good for you.
Well, so they're
wise man.
So they're all sick kids and ready to die, right?
Yeah, of course, right?
Well,
now
no,
they're
all
unbelievably
perfectly
healthy. They're exceptionally healthy, I would imagine. Is that right?
No, they are. They are exceptionally healthy. They've never had any of these childhood illnesses. They've never had an issue. I just went to the schools and said, I'm not going to do it. The doctor backed me up, and it wasn't an issue back then.
Good for you. How did you know?
Is that
Question,
the
just curious. How did you know? Like what made you say so many?
Yeah, why'd you fight the
years
power,
ago?
man?
Yeah, why did you not accept that truth?
I fought the power because I was vaccinated, and I didn't see any benefit from it. And I've seen people who were vaccinated and who still got illnesses.
Did you see any?
To me, it wasn't something that I was going to risk my kids getting.
Okay.
And your wife was totally fine with it.
This is really
that's
interesting.
an interesting
Well,
story.
my wife backed me up 100% on it. And,
wow.
My thing is, and my belief system is that the government is here to, we run the government. I mean, it's supposed to be the government for the people, not the other way around.
So what's the saying when When the government fears the people, you have freedom. When people fear the government, you'll have tyranny.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
So what's interesting, in my experience is that most people who question vaccines are ex-vaxxers. And the reason they're ex-vaxxers.
What's an ex-vaxxer?
A former vaccinator.
Ah, okay, gotcha. Yes,
right?
Okay.
So most people are ex-vaxxers because they witnessed a deterioration or a significant problem in their children's health due to vaccination. And despite their doctor telling them, no, it's a coincidence, that had nothing to do with the vaccine, they knew in their heart of hearts that what their experience was very true. Then they would have second or third kids or fourth kids, and they would not vaccinate those kids. And they would see a profile of very healthy, never sick, neurologically typical, immunologically strong, unvaccinated kids. And they'd still witness their vaccine-harmed kid with health problems. And so they are doing their own vaccination versus unvaccination study within the confines of the same contributing life factors. The medical community refuses to acknowledge that the unvaccinated children are healthy because they're unvaccinated, and that the vaccinated children are having a problem because of the side effect of the vaccine. Because it's incomprehensible for the community to believe that these materials could harm to the extent that they are harming. Because then you'd have to know that you gave up your power to an authority that really screwed you.
Well, he is wearing a white coat, I'm just saying.
I don't wear a white coat.
Okay, that's good.
But it is a metaphor wearing a white coat.
That's good. Yeah. I like that. It's very funny.
On the last note of this whole thing, as far as the government's concerned,
okay,
and this is kind of important, is that there's a reason why they're trying to disarm the nation, and it's not because it's to protect us; it's to protect them from the stuff that they're going to do to us.
Making me feel scared, brother. That's okay. You know me. I'm pro Second Amendment. I'm with you.
Yeah,
I'm with you.
And it's actually really interesting.
They want to disarm us.
Yes. It's actually really interesting that you just said that too, because we look at a variety of opinions about a variety of topics.
Yep.
And so, for argument's sake, when I posted the flyer that I was going on the show, and there was a segment on vaping and a segment on vaccines, I watched vapors turn around and go, well, I'm not going to watch it. So all we're doing with all these different subcategories, all this different opinions, is creating more of a division. You're either against tyranny, you're against overregulation, you're against control.
Just so I'm clear with this, they weren't going to watch it because of the vaccine issue being discussed?
Correct.
Wow. Now, I'm not a fan of vaping. But when I saw the two topics on, I thought, well, I really want to hear it.
Here you go. Now we got something.
Yes. I want to hear what this guy has to say. I want to hear what the other side is all about.
See,
and you know what? I agree with you. I think you should have the freedom to do that. I don't love teenagers into it. I don't love that.
Youth should not be using the products.
Neither do vapors. Vapors are the same thing. Every story.
I mean, as long as we're discussing it, I'll offer my thoughts here. But my interest was very piqued to know that we were going to be on the same segment with a controversial sort of topic. I was interested in what you have to say. So that's a shame. That's a shame that person said that.
What we've experienced is people are certain about a subject that they know very little about, but have just accepted because their authority has told them that that's the truth.
In fact, the less they know, the more sure they are.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yes.
Oh, that's so true.
So when people say, they say, but what do you say? Well, I haven't read past the title of the article. Because if the article says measles killed 20 kids, people walk around saying,
"Oh, measles is killing 20 kids." There's new
right,
yes.
Deadly
but
disease.
They're not looking to see. Well, what are the details of what really happened?
Absolutely. Or vaping kills kids.
Yes, vaping kills teens.
Oh my God! So they're all it's just deadly. Yes.
That's a thing though. It's like what people don't understand with the whole vaping thing is that we as the vape shop owners, we see people coming in all the time. We see people with health issues, with
heart problems, with breathing issues. They quit smoking and they turn over to vaping, and we get to watch their health change in front of us when they come in week to week to get their stuff.
Yep.
And other people don't want to see that, and they don't want to hear it because it's something positive that's against their thoughts.
No, the reason why I know that's true, and I'm not a vapor either. I don't vape. I never have. But I saw it when I was in the campaign. I would walk into a vape shop, and I would do it often just because I'd be in a neighborhood, or I'd be somewhere, I'd see a vape shop, I'd walk and go, I support you guys. I'd do that kind of thing, high five a couple guys, and it'd be two people sitting on a couch or something like that. And I'd say, why are you here? Oh, no, I've been here for 3 years, used to have lung problems. Exactly what you said. I would hear. I used to smoke. Now I don't smoke anymore, whatever. Now I started running again. And I'd hear these stories again and again and again. And it's one of the reasons why I continue to support the industry, even though campaigning was difficult.
So how much of the tobacco industry money
I'll tell you
is
something else
behind
that's
stopping?
interesting. And there are reports out there where the people in the military who stop smoking and start vaping actually advance their PT times, their run times, and they're actually more prepared than they were when they were smoking cigarettes.
Yes, I've heard that more than once.
And, you know, the bigger picture here, though, is the principle of it. If you're a grown-up and you want to make these decisions for yourself, why can't you do it?
Yes!
You know?
That's the point.
That's exactly the point.
I mean, I'm not saying remove regulation. I'm not supporting
No,
putting
reasonable
components
regulation
in there.
is needed for everything. I mean, otherwise you're just going to have anarchy.
But it's my life. You know, it's my life.
Yes.
It's my lungs. It's my habit.
And when it came to vaccines, it's your child.
Back off.
Yes,
Yeah.
I completely agree.
And you know,
wait a second. You were in the Marines, correct?
I was, absolutely.
Okay, so then you remember C-rations used to come with cigarettes, right?
I remember, absolutely. And a little John Wayne.
What's a John
Yeah.
Wayne?
How you open
And
up a can.
it was amazing that the military supported tobacco use then, and they used to give us cigarettes with our food.
Yes, absolutely. 100%.
How kind of them.
Yes. So, all right, I want to grab. Thank you so much for the call, my friend. I have to grab another call. All right, I want to head over to Syracuse if I can. I'm gonna go back to New York if I can. Head into Syracuse. I'm gonna grab Steve. Steve from Syracuse. How are you, my friend? Oh, I think I might have lost Steve. Hold on. He was on for a bit. I think he actually had to call back because we dropped him. A lot of calls tonight, guys. I'm sorry. I'm trying to make sure I get everybody in if I possibly can. Steve, are you there?
Yep.
Steve, how are you, sir? Talk to me. You are live.
Oh, hey, Larry.
Hey.
So I kind of haven't heard the last few minutes of conversation because I was on hold.
No worries. Talk to me anyway.
But I guess my issue is with the anti-vaccine folks.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel like most of the anti-vaccine folks in the Libertarian Party are actually libertarians.
Ooh, okay.
Because, while they may oppose vaccines, they may oppose government mandates, which I do as well. I oppose the mandates.
Yep.
But they're doing so on the basis of not real science, and they are absolutely just going against the scientific consensus, which says that vaccines are totally safe. And I get not trusting the consensus on some things, but
that sounds libertarian to me, though. Hold
So
on.
that sounds very libertarian.
What you're saying to me sounds very libertarian. Hold on a second. Hold on. I make sure I make sure what you're saying. Are you, from what you just told me, that felt very libertarian, that they're just mad even though the science is wrong. Where are you going with that? Help me out.
No. I'm not saying the science is wrong. I'm saying they are opposing vaccines on the basis of their own wrong science, as opposed to opposing vaccines. Like, if it wasn't government, like where do they stand on the Second Amendment? I haven't heard vaccine people stand out.
Oh,
on the
I
Second
see what you're
Amendment
saying.
Or any other libertarian issues. They
Okay.
only care about this. And when they present their argument, it's not an anti-government argument. It's a anti-science argument.
Ah, I got you. Okay, that's clearer. Thank you. That's clearer. Well, I got to tell you, that may or may not be true. And I'm actually okay if it is, because I want more people in our movement either way. I still think that even if you're right, that if they come to our movement and they hear us and they see what we have to say, I think we'll get a lot of them anyway. I mean, look at a lot of vapors. A lot of people who are vapors are single issue voters, as you said. A lot of them are single issue voters.
It's crazy because not only that, but there was a thing going around the other day where find out where you fall on the political spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
Most vapors I saw that take that ended up either on the left side or the right side of libertarian.
Yes.
And they were like, I didn't even realize I was a libertarian.
Yes, absolutely.
Stop living the red and blue.
I'm a vapor, so I get it.
Yeah.
I just think that specifically the vaccine people are opposing what is proven science.
Okay.
Well, when you see your child,
So let me ask him now. It's great. So they're here. Please, you hear what he says? He's saying that.
Sure. Yeah, I'm open to hear what they have to say.
I guess.
Please tell me.
I guess I'm kind of processing your message, but when you see your child, as Larry was saying, most people who do not vaccinate are former vaccinators, and they saw their child suffer.
Dr. Larry, not Larry Sharpe.
As a direct result of a vaccine, you rethink a lot of things in your life, and you rethink what's important. You rethink your politics. You rethink your whole life, because what is the most important thing to you is the preservation of the health of your child. And what I find in my experience is that people who go through this sort of evolution, they start out maybe, believe it or not, as liberal Democrats, and they think, oh no, the liberals, they're liberal. They let us do whatever we want. They're not going to stop me from not vaccinating. They're going to believe the science. They're liberal. No, anything that is the furthest thing from the truth. The liberal Democrats are actually the biggest enemy to our movement. And
ours.
As this frame of mind sort of develops, most people turn into conservatives. You know, they value their family, they value the family values, they value that unit. And conservatives have more in common with libertarians than certainly with liberal Democrats. So I guess that's more of a comment than, you know, an answer to what you're bringing up. Does that shed some? Does that offer any insight to what you said? I'm sorry, his name was Steve?
Steve.
Yeah,
Steve.
no. Yes, Steve. So, no, I for sure would tend to agree with you that conservatives do find their way to libertarianism way easier than perhaps the liberal Democrats, for sure.
So Steve, this is Dr. Larry.
Hold on, Steve. Let's let Dr. Larry talk.
This is Dr.
Sure,
Larry.
of course.
How much science do you know about vaccines?
Sure. So, I mean, I will admit that, granted, I'm a paramedic, but I'm not a scientist. While I have studied a bit of immunology, I will say I'm not claiming to be an expert in vaccines, but I do know I've read competing studies, of course, from anti-vaxxers and then people who are vaccine advocates, and I can only go by what I've read. But generally, vaccines are a good thing for us, right? I mean, just look at SIDS. SIDS was cut literally in half in the last 10 years thanks to vaccines.
Okay, I appreciate that. I appreciate that, but I actually have science that says the opposite of what you just said. So
this is why I don't trust science, for the record.
Tell me the opposite.
I have science.
You can't just not trust science.
No, doctor, tell me what's the opposite.
You cannot trust the government.
Steve, hold on. One second.
Continue.
Explain what opposite means, Dr. Larry.
In 1992, the American Academy of Pediatrics claimed the Back to Sleep program because of the increased number of cases of sudden infant death syndrome, or SIDS. Now, babies have been sleeping on their bellies for centuries. There's no record of the number of cases of babies dying of SIDS in history as there was in the late 60s, 1970s, 1980s, and early 90s.
Sure, makes sense.
So when mothers and fathers would come into the emergency rooms, they would say, I found my baby on her belly. I found my baby on his belly. My baby was put down on her belly, because that's what parents did. They put babies down on their bellies. And instead of the medical community saying, babies have been sleeping on their bellies for centuries. We don't have a history of babies dying like this. What has changed? There was groups of pediatricians that came rushing in to pediatric conferences to say, listen, you've added flame retardants to these mattresses. These flame retardants off-gas. These babies are dying because the fumes are being off-gassed and stopping their brains in their respiratory centers. Other pediatricians were coming in and saying, my kids, these are vaccine injuries. The American Academy of Pediatrics said the reason babies are dying is because they're on their bellies. They ignored history. In 1992, they created the Back to Sleep program, putting babies on their backs. They show graphs of the number of cases of sudden infant death syndrome going down. But what you don't see is the fact that the total number of babies dying never went down. What they did was they changed the name of what they called the death. They stopped calling it sudden infant death syndrome, and they started calling it crib death, suffocation. So yes, the number of cases of SIDS went down, but the total number of babies dying did not. We in this country are close to 49th in the developed world in infant mortality.
That I knew. Yeah,
okay?
we're bad.
So I looked at that same data and said, yeah, look at that graph. That graph shows that the number of cases of sudden infant death syndrome went down. But tease through it. How can SIDS go down and the number of babies dying go up?
What do you think about that, Steve? What do you think?
It's very easy. You look at the cause of death. I mean, you're making it's really a stretch for you to say that vaccines had nothing to do with the lowering of SIDS, and to talk about like babies laying on their back or laying on their stomach. I think that's a total false equivalency. Vaccines have saved millions of lives. And again, I would never, I would never support government mandates. And again,
okay, I just want to point something out. We went from SIDS to vaccines save millions of lives. You just went to a canned sentence that you've been taught for your whole life. Vaccines save lives. And when you had nothing left to say, you leaned on vaccines save millions of lives. It was a safe zone for you. I'm sorry. I have to point that out. I've heard it a million times. I've talked to thousands of parents. I've talked to hundreds of lawmakers. And whenever they get in a tight spot, they default to the safety zone of the dogma and the platitudes. And you just came out with the classic. Vaccines save millions of lives. You can't break out of the fact that maybe that's not true.
But it is.
Well, okay, again, your certainty scares me. Your certainty scares me.
Listen, I am completely skeptical of
I don't hear any skepticism. I don't hear any skepticism at all.
Except with vaccines. You're skeptical with everything except with vaccines. Except with injecting your children and your body with... Did you ever look at vaccine ingredients? I'm going to challenge you here.
Listen,
did you ever...
Here we go. Here's our vaccine ingredients. I'd love to get into that.
Okay.
I would love it.
Google them up right now. 3.5 pages of vaccine ingredients. Do you know there's aluminum in vaccines? Do you know there's dyes?
On the basis of government intervention. Why can't you simply oppose vaccines on the basis of government intervening? Why do you have to impart this fake science into it?
Why can't I oppose them on multiple levels?
See, but science. Actually, I know. See, here's the thing. I know all the science you know. I know all of it. I know all of it. I'm medically trained. I went to a New York medical university. I went to pediatric residency in New York. I worked for 9 years in ERs, ICUs, neonatal ICUs. I taught in medical schools. I know all that science. I also know that there's a bevy of science underneath that shoots that science down, because I know there is great science to show the damaging effects of the ingredients in vaccines. And if you know that science, I'm happy to talk to you about it. But if you don't know that science, you're missing out, and you're speaking out of turn with a certainty that really scares many parents, because you're so sure that the science I know is fake. What do I have to gain? I don't have any kids who are damaged. I want the truth. And the truth is that there's a whole lot of science that you and people like you refuse to even accept as possible, that you were duped and that you didn't know was out there. And that, to me, is very scary.
Well, let me touch both of these if I could.
So,
to be clear about both of this, both sides of this. And it's going to sound crazy. I don't care.
I'm with you.
I actually don't care. I don't care if the science is right, if the science is wrong. I don't care if you're half right, kind of right, all right. If both of you are wrong, Doesn't matter to me at all.
You have the right to choose.
Yes. All I want to do is I want the government to not be the only source of information. I want lots of sources of information. I want the government to not be mandating what I put in my child's body. I want the government to not tell me what I can put in my own body or in any adult's body. I want that. But more important than all of this, and this is to your point, Stephen, you make a very valid point. For our movement to grow, and this is past just you guys, this is the movement that Steve and I care about. Right? The movement that we care about tremendously is the liberty movement. And if it takes us to get more niche groups in on only one issue to hear our message, I'm in.
Right. So
I'm in.
100%.
I am in if it's a niche issue and if they go, you know what? I love big government except for this one thing.
And you are always willing to listen.
And I'm happy to listen and bring anybody in, and some will stay and some will go. But I'm actually in, Steve. I get what you're saying.
But you see, you're going to have trouble getting people. You're going to have trouble getting people to accept that governments shouldn't mandate it unless they're comfortable with the science as to why mandating it isn't necessary.
But here's the issue that I'm bringing up. Having you
mandating it should never be necessary.
There we go. Having you talk with guys like Steve and anyone else, having Steve talk to you, having someone who's a vapor come in and talk, that's going to cast as much doubt on government that I want. I want doubt on government.
There's actually many people
I want doubt on government.
That will just don't trust the government on anything. So it doesn't matter if the science is there, not there, if they believe it or not.
You see,
if the government's in control of it, there's special interest groups in control of it.
I don't want to say the government's wrong by default either. I don't want to say anyone's wrong by default.
Our current government.
Correct. Yes.
Our current
That's
government.
100% true. Yes.
But you can empower people by giving them the correct information so that they know why they don't trust government, so that they know why mandates are not good.
Money.
No, but again, it goes beyond money because we're watching kids be maimed and killed because people are trusting not only government, but the science that the government says is only true. And if you
let me wrap up with Steve. Steve, go ahead. Wrap up, brother.
Yeah, I mean, I guess my real issue is with most of the anti-vaccine movement, they're not actual libertarians. They don't care about the liberty movement. They only care about this
Can
one
we
issue.
believe what we want to believe anyway, Steve?
Hold on. Okay, let me finish.
How do you know?
Only
Let
attack
him wrap
it
up.
from if they only attack it from this one point of view of, hey, the science is totally wrong. You guys have been fooled, and that's incorrect. That's totally incorrect. And it's not a libertarian perspective. If you were a libertarian, say, all right, the government has lied to you, but thousands of scientists have lied to you on top, outside of government. If you actually cared about libertarianism, I'd love to have you guys in the party, but I don't believe you. I don't.
Steve, I appreciate your input tremendously. Thanks for calling, brother.
All right, Larry, I love you, brother.
Thanks. Have a good one.
I don't know how anybody can say they know what most anti-vaxxers do.
I don't know either. I'm happy you came.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for coming. Thank all of you for coming today. I'm so happy.
you.
Please let us know, where can we find you?
You can find me on Facebook, Matthew Elliott. You can also find me on Twitter, Grim Elliottini. You can look for the Vaping Legion Network on YouTube, where we cover many topics of what's going on, as well as exposing special interest groups against vaping.
Awesome. Let me move on. Where can we find you?
Okay. My name, Rita, Rita, P as in Peter, ALM is in Mary, A as in Apple. On Facebook, that's where I do a lot of my work. I have a mailing list. I'm also on Twitter. And
what's your Twitter name?
My Twitter name is Rita Muller Palma.
There we go.
I use my maiden name for that, and I also represent Children's Health Defense.
Awesome. Where can we find you?
Dr. Palevsky, P as in Peter, A-L-E, V as in Victor, S as in Sam, K as in Kite, Y as in Yellow.com, Dr. DR, drpalevsky.com.
Awesome. Guys, thank you so much for today. And everyone, thank you for listening today. I appreciate it. 2 awesome hours. I told you the best 2 hours of your week. I will talk to you all next week here on The Sharpe Way.